Since 2003, this is The Sports Source with your host, John Pennington.
The Sports Source is presented by Junk Be Gone, Pipe Wrench, and the Garza Law Firm.
The Sports Source starts now.
Good Sunday morning. Welcome into the Junk Be Gone studios for today's edition of The Sports Source. I appreciate you joining us. Appreciate you being here. Question of the week, will Boo Carter be back with the Tennessee football team? Should Boo Carter be back with the Tennessee football team? Does Tennessee suddenly have a culture issue? That's three questions, but it's one big topic. We'll cover that from all those different angles. We'll also look at ESPN. They've got some projections for the Volunteers, some interesting research that they've put forth. We'll take a look at what one publication values the Tennessee program at. They went through and they tried to evaluate the cash value of all of the college football programs in the country, the big ones, and just try and say, okay, if this was a pro team, what would it sell for? We'll show you what Tennessee's number is, whether you think it's right, whether we think it's right, where it ranks in the SEC. We'll also take a look at college basketball spending. Another publication talked to some basketball coaches off the record to hear what rosters are costing these days, and it's amazing. We've got all that and much more to come. Let's get into it. Our first segment of today's show, brought to you by the Garza Law Firm. Regardless of the reason you find yourself in need of an attorney, it's always best to lean on a local attorney. They know the local playing field, and there's one here that really knows the East Tennessee legal system better than anybody else because he's been in East Tennessee for years and years and years. That's Marcos Garza and the Garza Law Firm. Proven, local. Visit garzalaw.com to learn more. And if you're feeling uptight because you need a lawyer, and I don't know of anybody who's ever needed a lawyer that didn't feel uptight about it, Garza Law and the Garza Law Firm can help take some of that apprehension away. All right, I want to welcome in the next wave, or the first wave of panelists, I guess. There is no next wave. We got over here Chuck Cavaleris. We got right here Josh Ward, Tyler Ivins right here, and Bob Hodge right there. It's a good-looking jacket.
Thank you,
really
sir.
nice looking
like
jacket.
It.
Feeling jacket.
Had it made.
That's impressive. I wanted to start. With the Boo Carter situation. Camp begins this week, and you got third team All SEC defensive back, also a dynamic return man, and he was hoping to get some plays on offense as well in Boo Carter, but he's missed a lot of team activities. This has come out this week. Rumors about his teammates not appreciating it, confronting him. You can read into confront as you like. But there's been no suspension yet, which is interesting. Josh Heupel has not suspended this young man for missing all of these team activities. Interesting. Heupel will be talking on Tuesday at the open of fall camp, and we'll get a layout of where things stand with Boo Carter. But my question is pretty simple. We've seen this kind of thing at Tennessee before, and of course, you've seen it in the pros, you've seen it in college, every sport there is. You got a guy who's got a lot of talent, but by keeping him around, you're going to anger some teammates who are going to say, wait a second, why do we have to play by your set of rules and he doesn't? So, Tennessee's already lost a major player in Nico this year. How many of that would be two. He would have been all SEC. So you only had three guys there. So let's say you would have had a fourth. He would have been first, second, or third string. Let's say you had four guys. This could mean two of them are gone, Nico and Boo Carter, if he's not back. So my question for all of you, but I'll start with Josh, is his talent so much that you bring him back regardless? Or is the culture so important you don't care about his talent and you say hit the bricks? Where are you?
Regardless, no. Regardless, no, because it still very much matters what the team thinks, what the team says. The leadership council is talked about a lot at Tennessee, and I think that has to matter here because of what happened in the spring, because of what Josh Heupel said. No one is bigger than the power T. So you can't have a player appear to be bigger than the power T, his teammates think that he is acting that way, and then look the other way. You can't have that. Now, if Boo Carter does whatever the teammates think is important for him to come back, then you welcome him back. We've seen many times where players have issues off the field, within the locker room, and you get through it somehow.
Guys have been known to trip over helmets.
Yes, it has happened. But you have to have the locker room on board with it. If not, the locker room can come apart. In Tennessee right now, while they're trying to figure out a quarterback battle, they're trying to get everybody on board on offense, going the right direction. You can't have somebody else causing problems. So if the team's on board, yeah, you can get through it. Beyond the season, I think that's can be tough. But for the next three or 4 months, they can if the team's on board.
And one more note here. For Boo Carter, there are no other options, in theory. He's not supposed to be able to go anywhere. It's outside of the portal window, so he's not supposed to be able to go anywhere and play. Whether he could challenge that in court in this environment, who knows? But he's probably locked to Tennessee if he wants to play. Anybody else want to jump in here? Who's
Well,
next?
I mean, didn't you kind of set the precedent with Nico? Didn't you kind of say no one person's bigger than the power T? The issue to me is, and it's part of the question, is what his teammates are saying. And the troubling thing is you've got somebody that says, hey, I want to run back punts. I want to play safety. I want to be on the field for some snaps on offense. Well, aren't you supposed to show up for some of these so-called voluntary activities with your brand-new quarterback?
He's already gotten a raise this offseason.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, hopefully, but to answer your question, no. No. But you hope it can be worked out, explained, and do better.
So you would be culture over talent, and you would be culture over talent. It's whatever the team says.
Yeah. You're going to fracture
You want
your
him
locker
back,
room,
but
yeah.
if the team doesn't want him back.
The talent gives you the opportunity for the extra chance if the other stuff is taken.
Right, if he's a scrub, there would be no opportunity, correct? Okay.
Exactly where I was going with that is because of Boo Carter's talents and the ability, special teams, potentially offensively, and we already know what his highlights can be defensively. I would hope, and I can't speak for the rest of the leadership council, I can't speak for the rest of his teammates, that hopefully they will look at this situation as 19-year-old kid. It's time for you to mature and grow up. If you want to get paid like this is a big boy job, when we say voluntary, it's not voluntary for you. That is mandatory for you. The guy who just got a pay raise ahead of what happened June 7th with the House agreement. I think that this is you learned your lesson, knucklehead moment. Let's not have this be an encore performance and let's move on from it. It just became a bigger deal because of what's happened at the University of Tennessee in the last 12 weeks.
You are right. I mean, the Nico thing started this, but
Yes.
the other, and Josh brings it up and Chuck reiterated, the fact that you came out and said nobody's bigger than the power T, now you're locked into that.
Yes, exactly.
You're locked in. And the interesting thing is you said that after Nico had gone. You made it look like you got rid of Nico. He'd already gone. So it wasn't, you decided we're not going to pay him more money. Okay, so nobody's bigger than the power T. But the idea that, no, we shut the door on him. You shut the door after he'd already walked out, got in his car, and driven to L.A. So that's a little, but so you're trapped by that now. And the other thing we don't know is, I don't think you can just welcome him back into the fold. I think there's got to be, we'll let you back if it's A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You got to do all this. Who knows if he wants to do all that? That's the question. Bob, where are you? Does talent overcome culture, or does culture overweigh talent?
You have seen this, and like you said, you've seen it at Tennessee. You see it just about everywhere at some point for various reasons. I would let him come back. Once again, he would have criteria he has to meet to be able to come back. But the rope after that is incredibly short. Mm-hmm. We've let you work your way back into it, and if you don't want to work your way back into it, okay, it's time to move on. But if you go back and think, and the name that came to my mind recently was Jeremy Banks.
There it is.
Because he was a talented football player. He was above average at his position. He was a linebacker, and he was a problem. But they kept bringing him back until he tore the locker room apart. And that was before the South Carolina game 2 years ago where Tennessee goes over there and lays a huge egg. Okay, so do you work yourself into that if you keep giving chance after chance? I'd give this chance, and that's the only chance.
Well, there's another kid that you go back further than that. There's a worse case than that, and you don't even want to. I'm not drawing comparisons between what people are doing off the field, but Jansen Jackson is a pretty famous example. You talk to people on the team, that guy had one set of rules and everybody else had another, and Derek Dooley continued to look the other way on Jansen Jackson. And that didn't, in the end, that did no favors to Jansen Jackson.
No.
Because at some point he decided, heck, I can drive around with a dead body in my trunk. No, that doesn't work. The legal system's not going to give you a pass the way that Derek Dooley, future senator from Georgia, did. I wonder about his willingness to bend the knee and come back to the team and the coach. That's the thing. How tough do you make that re-entry path, and how easy do you make it? Because the teammates will be watching.
I think that tells the tale. I think you have to make it tough because you're right at the start of practice now. Mm-hmm. So all the stuff that the other guys have been doing since spring practice to now, you're not going to be able to catch up with all that. So it has to be something tough enough to make your teammates step back and say, okay, he is paying a price for this.
Anyone else final
Fan
words?
perceptive, too, is if he goes out there, Josh isn't going to let this slide. Give him an opportunity to be able to catch up, build on this, show that there is a matured corner that has been turned, and we can leave this behind. We'll keep receipts of it, but this will be, man, do you remember 25 when Boo kind of did this? Oh, look at it. We're in 27 now, and hopefully that it's all positive and roses and it smells great.
I think he's one of your best players on the team. Personally,
Yes.
there's some people who don't agree with that. I think he's one of the best players on the team. That said, one of the most famous instances of all of this was Lawrence Taylor with the Giants. You talk about a guy who they looked the other way. He would roll out of bed after 3 straight weeks of cocaine and come in, and that's not an exaggeration, folks. He would then show up and just blow it up on
be
game
Lawrence
day.
Taylor.
He was great.
Yeah.
And they continued to just look the other way. It's Lawrence Taylor. That was one of the greatest, if not the greatest, defender of all time. Boo Carter ain't that. So in terms of, there's also that sliding scale. The talent gets you somewhere. I think he's talented. He ain't Lawrence Taylor talented. So I don't know how far you go in terms of making an easy pay
In a way, you hope
back.
part of this is a misunderstanding or something too, until you get both sides. Until you get both sides of what happened.
Well,
and then move
I
on.
would say, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's lasted so many days at this point.
I think Josh Heupel probably knows what's going on. So all right. Well, who knows? Maybe they just haven't been able to. It's like they have that John Curry phone system.
You know
where
what?
They couldn't get in touch with
But
the
if
president.
he hadn't had these problems, similar problems in high school, then it would be
3
more
different
likely
schools in high
that maybe
school.
we don't know both sides. But you do have a history that trails back now for
Then
years.
you've got family members who are on social media saying stuff. Too.
John, media day is Tuesday. Players report. They're coming back and reporting officially by tomorrow. It's got to get resolved by Tuesday.
Yeah, that's why I said Tuesday is the day that Heupel's going to tell us one way or the other what's happening. I just think it's interesting he hasn't been suspended yet, but no suspension. So, all right, when we come back, first it was Nico Now it's Boo Carter. We have praised and praised and praised Josh Heupel on this show and just about everybody in town for the culture he's built. Right out of the gate, he built a good culture over there. Does this start to make you question the culture, or is this just a blip? We'll discuss that next. Come on back. Anyone else final
Fan
words?
perceptive, too, is if he goes out there, Josh isn't going to let this slide. Give him an opportunity to be able to catch up, build on this, show that there is a matured corner that has been turned, and we can leave this behind. We'll keep receipts of it, but this will be, man, do you remember 25 when Boo kind of did this? Oh, look at it. We're in 27 now, and hopefully that it's all positive and roses and it smells great.
I think he's one of your best players on the team. Personally,
Yes.
there's some people who don't agree with that. I think he's one of the best players on the team. That said, one of the most famous instances of all of this was Lawrence Taylor with the Giants. You talk about a guy who they looked the other way. He would roll out of bed after 3 straight weeks of cocaine and come in, and that's not an exaggeration, folks. He would then show up and just blow it up on
be
game day.
Lawrence Taylor.
He was great. And they continued to just look the other way. It's Lawrence Taylor. That was one of the greatest, if not the greatest, defender of all time. Boo Carter ain't that. So in terms of, there's also that sliding scale. The talent gets you somewhere. I think he's talented. He ain't Lawrence Taylor talented. So I don't know how far you go in terms of making an easy pay
In a way, you hope
back.
part of this is a misunderstanding or something too, until you get both sides. Until you get both sides of what happened.
Well,
and then move
I
on.
would say, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's lasted so many days at this point.
I think Josh Heupel probably knows what's going on. So, all right. Well, who knows? Maybe they just haven't been able to. It's like they have that John Curry phone system.
You know
where
what?
They couldn't get in touch with
But
the
if
president.
he hadn't had these problems, similar problems in high school, then it would be
3
more
different schools
likely
in
that
high
maybe
school.
we don't know both sides. But you do have a history that trails back now for
Then
years.
you've got family members who are on social media saying stuff. Too.
John, media day is Tuesday. Players report. They're coming back and reporting officially by tomorrow. It's got to get resolved by Tuesday.
Yeah, that's why I said Tuesday is the day that Heupel's going to tell us one way or the other what's happening. I just think it's interesting he hasn't been suspended yet, but no suspension. So, all right, when we come back, first it was Nico Now it's Boo Carter. We have praised and praised and praised Josh Heupel on this show and just about everybody in town for the culture he's built. Right out of the gate, he built a good culture over there. Does this start to make you question the culture, or is this just a blip? We'll discuss that next. Come on back. All right, we got a poll question for you today. It's very simple. You got a thumbs up on the one side of your screen, a thumbs down on the other. What would you do with Boo Carter if you were Josh Heupel? Keep him, need his talent, or boot him, culture matters. And we're not giving you the middle way of I'd give him a path and he'd have to walk the path. Just A or B, what do? You a culture person or are you talent person? We've already lost talent off this team. We need more talent. Yeah. Where are you? You tell us. Get there on your QR code with your smartphone, or you can visit the new website. ssdn.tv is the easiest way to get there. It still takes you to sportsource.tv. Hit the poll section. You can vote there as well. All right. The day before the spring game, Nico Emmy-award walked away from Tennessee football. More on him in the next segment, as a matter of fact. Now Boo Carter has missed team activities and drawn the ire of teammates. Arguably, those guys were two of Tennessee's three best players, along with Jermod McCoy. So the question, after 4 years of culture building that's looked really good on the field, Tyler, do you now have questions about culture? Do you say you're going to get you're recruiting 100 guys a year? It's going to be some bad eggs. Where are you?
The latter. I think that this is just because they're close together on the calendar. I'm not going to lean the opposite direction on the culture that Josh Heupel has built. Many players that we have an opportunity to catch up with love Josh Heupel for what he's been able to do since he's got to Knoxville. I think because we continue to play this landmine game of one step this direction's right, wrong direction this way. I think the Nico situation was kind of a perfect storm. Nico's still on this team if you don't get the on-3 report from Pete Nakos. And then you have the Boo situation, who I just think is a little bit of immaturity for a 19-year-old. So they're two unique situations. I don't think they should be included in a category of now there's a takeover or maybe the culture wasn't as strong as we originally believed.
Gentlemen, thoughts? You starting to question the culture
well,
at all?
I mean, isn't this part of this new, or not new, the NIL age too? Wasn't that mostly what Nico was? Even though he, we'll talk about. I know we'll get into that later. Yeah, but then you talk about the player maturity. I think is a big part of it too. And who's talking to these players and who's getting in their ear? Are they changing agents? Are they doing this? You recruit so many players. It's not always going to work out, right?
These are 19-year-old kids that have got life-changing money for some of these. I mean, what do you expect them to do? Some of these kids make dumb decisions.
The Boo Carter thing isn't money related, we don't think. So doesn't sound like it. Maybe he's
not this time.
Maybe he got his raise and he's not happy with the raise. But what we're hearing is not money right now.
Right.
What do you think, Joe?
No, I don't think it's a culture issue. It's a test of culture. It is. It is that. I think the Nico situation, that has to be a lesson for Tennessee in how you manage everything, meaning they paid him before he arrived at Tennessee, gave him a big contract that can create an expectation on the family side of we get this kind of control, and that blew up. But the reason I say it's a culture test here is because let's see the response. We've heard so many good things about the Leadership Council, which I mentioned last segment, and I think there are so many players to feel good about the locker room, the leadership they have. But if this isn't handled the right way, that could create problems that create bigger issues in the future. So I think the culture's in a good place, but I think this situation is going to tell us if I'm right or wrong.
It also shows the importance now and how the importance on this has increased of getting the right guys. And when you're recruiting, players get in trouble. You get 85 young men on scholarship and 15 more walk-ons, and that's about to change with the new revenue sharing deal and everything. It'll be 100 scholarships. But bottom line is you get about 100 kids. You're not going to have 100 Boy Scouts. You don't want 100 Boy Scouts. But hang on, the thing I was going to say is now you've got to not only invest in the right people. I'm going to not only pick the right people, you're investing in these people. So there's not only, this guy could do something stupid and blow up the team. Well, now he can do something stupid, blow up the team, and take millions of dollars with him. He can cost you money that you would have given to someone else. I just think it's more and more important than ever to find the right people. And the problem is, recruiting's not easy. It's you and 50 other schools going after these guys. Most of them have a go-between. How much do you really get to know a kid during the recruiting process?
Exactly.
Now it's more important to get to know him because could you have foretold, maybe your culture's fine, but can't you say, you could have looked at Boo Carter, seen the 3 high school deals, known his story, and said, this ain't going to be a fit. You didn't. You said, look at his talent, let's roll the dice. Now, rolling the dice on a player 10 years ago, you just boot him. It's over. Now there's money involved. What does this do for NIL? You throw in the Nico thing. There's going to be blowback. People around the country, other schools are going to use this negatively against you to say what's going on at Tennessee. Fair or not, they're going to say that. What were you going to say?
From a NIL standpoint, I think it's still very new for a lot of coaches to decide how to balance out what they're doing in the facility and away from the facility. But let me also remind a lot of people, culture-wise, would anybody here not just be bottom jaw, just stunned if a player got caught up in the news for something he was doing?
Never happens under Josh.
That's
Heupel.
what I'm saying.
Yeah,
So
great
this,
culture.
This is
it's great culture.
It really is. I just feel like that this just goes back to the original point of this is just one or two offs that everybody is still eventually going to have to go over, a hurdle that they're going to have to tackle. Again, you never hear about anything away from the facility. These guys are around campus. All these programs pretty solid right now.
I want to go somewhere else. You mentioned something, and I was already. I was thinking of throwing this out there if we have time. We don't have time. We're going to do it anyway because you said the two words, and I'm like, well, this is kismet. It's a sign from above. I need to go there. Is this shaping in? Famously, in 2005, when Philip Fulmer was like, where did this season come from? Everybody's like, what? We had a losing record. What? And he said, well, it was a perfect storm. Nico, Boo Carter, who knows where this is going to turn out. You had a lot of guys transfer out. Your whole receiver core transferred out. Is this shaping up as a perfect storm year? I don't mean you're going to go 5-7, but I mean one of those years that truly is a blip. Now, for Philip Fulmer, you had another one 3 years later, so it was 2 and 4 years. But is this shaping up as a perfect storm year where you're starting to go, I don't think the stars are aligning this season, or no? Because I'm there. I think I'm getting to the point where there's a lot of things going on here. This isn't shaping up as a great year.
Well, in 05, the defense was still terrific that year. The offense just never was able to find its way that season, and it blew things up. I mean, maybe so. I think the schedule, that's a whole other thing, but I think the schedule allows it to not.
It's okay to say no, you don't think it's a perfect storm year.
Well,
there's a lot to manage between now and August 30th.
not yet, but I've got my telescope out, and I'm looking at the stars, and I'm seeing how they're lined up. I really am.
I'm not there yet.
Okay. There's a lot of stuff. So, all right, we'll see. When we come back, Nico Emmy-award said all the right things at Big Ten Media Days. But is he still the most disliked former Vol in history? He can say all the right things and praise the Vol fan base. Vol fan base takes receipts. They keep them. So when we come back, is he the most hated former Vol out there? If not, who was? Come on back. Big Ten Media Days, Nico Emmy-award finally spoke publicly for the first time since leaving Tennessee. He said the decision was not about money. It was about getting home, being closer to his family. It was costly. It was tough for his family to travel, which is all good stuff, aside from the fact that you've had good reporters who've said, no, he was asking for more money. And also, he pitched himself. They called Miami to gauge their interest, and I'm pretty sure it's a farther flight from L.A. to Miami than it is L.A. to Knoxville. Regardless, he came out, said nothing bad about the coaches. He said good things about the coaches. He praised the Tennessee fan base. He said, I hope Joey Aguilar experiences as much fun as I did with his fan base. Look, it was PR. It was spin. It was given to him by somebody else.
Right.
But he did the right thing. That's much better than going out and throwing, flares into the gasoline that you've poured behind you. Better just to leave and be nice.
He didn't handle it like Lane Kiffin would have.
That's exactly right. So the question, though, is, even though it was well scripted, is he still, and he said nice things about UT, is he still the most hated, or is he the most hated ex-Vol in history?
Well, I would say he's not going to be getting many Christmas cards from Tennessee fans. But I kind of look at it like a divorce, John. I really do. Here's what I'm going to say. Some Vol fans are going to be glad that it didn't work out. Some Vol fans are going to hold a grudge. Some people are going to say, I thought you were the right one, as it turned out you weren't. But to say he's the most hated,
I don't like using the word hate, but what else? The most disliked.
most disliked? Well, there's not a whole lot to choose from in terms of players, is there? So, yeah, I'd say he is the most disliked.
Henry
right now.
To'oTo'o.
Yeah, but I don't put him in the same class with Nico right now, even though he went to Alabama. The way Nico handled things and the way that happened, I still have Nico as the most disliked.
But not hated, but disliked. Hated. Right, okay.
Henry To'oTo'o was the name that came up with me, and I think it's hard to split those two, simply because he did go to Alabama. He left you. He was a pretty good player here. I don't think he was as good as people thought. I don't think Nico was as good as people
Although he's still in the NFL.
Although he's still in the NFL and not a bad NFL player. But as of right now, and I mean, I tried to think back to the 80s for players
Yeah.
and former players.
Well, they
okay, who
weren't.
would
The
have been-
portal has changed all of it. So much of it. Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with right now. Yeah, Nico's number one,
A guy-
and I think he will stay number one until
years
somebody else who people are just so excited to see. Because that's the other part of it, the big money and the excitement. We got a 5-star quarterback.
Yeah, you
That-
invested
that-
in him when he was a
yes.
senior in high school.
So I think that's what puts him at the top.
Quarterback.
Yeah.
I don't care what quarterback. That's the thing. He's quarterback, and it's the spring. It's right at spring practice. The,
Yeah, it's
the
all of it.
show of that day.
Timing. Yeah, the way it was
It's-
If he
handled.
was a 5-star center, it wouldn't have the same.
Now, I'll throw you another one who should be on there, but isn't. He got a pass because everybody disliked his coach. But one of the guys who just quit on you, literally mid-game, and helped blow up a season, Jalen Hurd.
Yeah.
That name should be
Yeah.
on this list, but nobody ever. It's like, yeah, we don't care. We just hate Butch so much. Which leads me to the next portion of this. You agree it's Nico, right? There was a
I do, yeah.
Okay. Well, what if I throw ex-coaches into it? All right, so now we got Nico versus Butch Jones, Derek Dooley,
Kiffin.
Doug Dickey, Lane Kiffin. Half the fan base loves him again, so I don't know. He's not even on there. By the way, keep voting. Tell us it's 88% of you say boot Boo Carter, 12% say, 11% say keep him, need his talent. That's interesting.
That is interesting.
But again, that's like if we come back to the end of the year, the record isn't great. Are you going to give them a pass because they got rid of Nico, because Nico, they allowed him to leave, and Boo Carter, they booted? Who's most hated out of that bunch? Butch,
Probably.
Dooley, Dickey from your era?
I'm going Doug Dickey all day long.
Because people back then thought that he literally had thrown a game.
He's standing on the sidelines coaching a team against the team that the next week he's going to be their head coach. I'm sorry.
The Florida Gators.
It made for bad television.
It's Butch.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
Butch.
even though he was more successful than Pruitt, than Dooley, than Kiffin was only 1 year, but it's Butch. I think
be
it's
Dooley.
I think it's a runaway for fans. With
See,
the,
I would
with
put
the one they
I would
dislike
put
the most.
Pruitt ahead of Butch.
See, I didn't even put Pruitt on there. You got rid of him with such ease, though. I mean, it's
Yeah,
like
but
it's
I mean,
like-
it was just what he did while he was
I
here. I
agree,
would have
Yeah.
Pruitt
The fact that
ahead of
things
Butch.
turned out so great right after, I think that helps Pruitt. Now, I don't. He still has this lawsuit that's kind of hanging out there. If anything changes
Comes
with
with
that,
that.
maybe he
Yeah.
can make a comeback.
Yeah.
But I think it's Butch.
All right, very good.
The
When-
gift that keeps on giving.
When we
Butch
come
Jones.
back, what ESPN sees on the horizon for this year's Volunteers. Come on back on the Sports Source. We were going to remind you of the poll, but that's all right. Let's go straight to the full screen here. ESPN took a by-the-numbers look around the SEC, and here's what they found with Tennessee. Returning production on offense and defense and special teams, how they factored it, I don't know. They say 51% is back. That is a tie for 13th out of 16 teams in the SEC. Not great. The interesting thing there, though, in terms of returning production, the other teams that are down there at the bottom with you, Texas, Georgia, and Ole Miss. So it's 4 pretty good teams there, including you from last year, who've lost a lot of production. Returning offensive production, only 39% returns. That is dead last in the SEC. Strength of schedule, you get the 15th toughest, so it's the second easiest schedule to Missouri. Projected SEC wins, they're saying you're going to go 5-3, which is the 6th best, which means, of course, the predicted finish in the SEC is 6th for Tennessee, which is better than what you had at SEC Media Days, USA Today, Sports Illustrated, who had you 9th, 10th, and 11th. And there's your poll question. Go ahead and keep playing. Tell us what you think. 88-12. I just have a hard time believing there aren't more than 12% out there who say, we need the talent. What are we doing with this culture crap? But right now it's 88-12, so let's see. Here's the question about all that. Does that look right to you, Bob, those numbers that you just saw in terms of finishing 6th as compared to, I mean, your 13th, you get the 15th, you get the second easiest schedule. At the same time, you're dead last in terms of offensive production returning. You're way low in terms of overall production returning. So it turns out 6th in the SEC, better than those other players. Where are you? Good with 6th?
I would think that is fair. And when we talked about it last week, I thought, okay, it's also fair to have them down there around 10th or 11th. I think Tennessee has a wide range because there are, as those numbers showed, so many questions about this team that you have to answer. Only 39% of your offensive production. Wow, that's low. I mean, that is a low number. And so I think that to me is on the good end for this team, because that probably gets you a 9-3 record, probably gets you a top 20 ranking. Not bad for a year where you're doing a lot of rebuilding. So I think it's fair.
I think it's very fair. Now, are we getting into the rest of the SEC? Here's the reason why it was a little surprising to me. Those metrics that they laid out in return, do you know who they have winning and finishing in first place in the SEC this year? Which is not crazy, but Alabama. Not Georgia, not Texas. So when I saw that they had Tennessee with 5 wins, 5-3 in conference play, finishing 6th this year with some of the different shuffling pieces they have on their chessboard, I said, all right, awesome. That's real positive for, as you pointed out, Sports Illustrated, everything else. But seeing who they had and how they had them ranked, I was very taken back by, not only was it unique, it was very unique top to bottom, in my opinion, when it came to the conference as a whole.
Yeah, the schedule, I think, is what brings the most confidence. Like you asked earlier about the perfect storm, and it still could play out that way. Part of my hesitation was this schedule. They play the bottom 4 teams projected in the SEC. Mm-hmm. Now, that doesn't mean the schedule's easy. It's just favorable compared to the other teams they're playing. Going to Mississippi State, Tennessee better be ready for that game because Jeff Lebby was competitive in Knoxville with his backup quarterback against Tennessee last season. So Arkansas showed us last year, no guarantees. But the schedule lays out comfortably. And in some spots, like Mike Matthews being a year older, he could be more productive this year, year 2 at wide receiver, than a lot of what Tennessee got last year. So those kinds of things can help. I trust in the running game with Josh Heupel that they can find success there, even if they have to replace Dylan Sampson. But the challenges are also pretty obvious, starting at quarterback with what they have to get figured out.
We got a little extra time here. I was going to do this. You just mentioned Matthews. In terms of guys, you see so little production coming back. So let me ask you, this was going to be a whole other segment, but just very quickly. If you had to choose one of these guys to be more important, if you could make one of them step up over what we saw last year in their first year after transferring, Lance Hurd or Chris Brazzell, who do you need a better step forward from?
Lance Hurd, pun intended, step forward footwork.
Okay.
I'm going to go Lance Hurd as well.
Hurd for sure.
I'm going to go Chris Brazzell, and here's why. If you catch one extra deep ball a game, it changes your whole season. Every game is different last year. If you throw an extra touchdown on there, teams are going to have to play you differently. If you're back to where you were in the Hendon Hooker years, or even halfway back, then I think you've taken a step forward as an offense. And that's one. There were plays last year to be made where Hurd and Campbell held up. Nico had the time, either overthrew his receiver or his receiver dropped the deep ball.
And if he had an extra half second, he could have just been a little better on that. Okay. Go back to Lance.
I think everybody would go Lance Hurd, but I'm going to go Chris Brazzell because I think one deep ball a game, and I think it's that easy. That's what you're looking at. Get those big plays back. If you had 12 more big plays last year, big 30-yard pass plays, instead of having 15 on the year, you'd have had 27. That would have been more. That would have been 9 more than you had under Milton, and you had 40 under Hooker. That's a huge difference.
You certainly beat Arkansas.
You know, the only reason I disagree with
you,
because you've got other options that maybe step up instead of Brazzell.
Yeah, but
to take care of that. You have no other options for Lance Hurd.
Sure you do. You've got David Sanders at right tackle.
He's already playing.
When we come back, The Athletic used a formula to try and put cash valuations on the nation's top college football programs. When do you see what they said about Tennessee? Come on back. Okay, take a look here at the Athletics valuations of programs. Though there are poll results. That last time I jumped my director. This time he's jumping me. He's getting me right. All right. What would you do with Boo Carter? There's your final result. The talent. All I had to do was gig it. It jumped. 19% now. So all I had to do was say, there's some of you out there who just want the talent. Boom. Thank you. 81% to 19%. And I'm like you, Tyler. That's still an incredible skewed number. 80 to 20 now.
I'd expect it to be 50-50. I did not expect it to be 4/5.
Yeah. I'd have thought 60-40 would have been close.
Yeah, I do. I would have too. I think that's if you gave people truth serum. See, that's the thing. We're getting you to play your game. The next round of this, we're actually going to send people to your home. Truth serum, and you have to answer that way. I think it would have been closer to 50-50 if you did
or it may
honest.
have been 80-20 the other way.
Talent. All right, very good. Thanks for playing along. We appreciate it. Now let's take a look at the Athletics valuations of college football programs. There it is. All right, now. The interesting thing here, they had their own formula to determine if a college football program was like a pro franchise and you were going to sell it, what would it be worth? So it's a formula, who knows? But they've got, no surprise, a little school named Texas ranked number 1 overall, worth $2.38 billion. Then came Georgia, Ohio State, Notre Dame. Of the top 20 schools, 9 were from the SEC, 9 were from the Big Ten. Sound like a German movie. 9! Notre Dame is in there as an independent. Florida State snuck in as the ACC's lone top 20 program. So the SEC and the Big Ten, that's 18 of your top 20 most valuable. Now, here's the thing. The schools are worth more because they make more money in those 2 leagues. And the leagues make more money because they have those big brand programs. So it's kind of chicken or the egg there. But here's what they said about Tennessee. Let's take a look at that one. Their take, average football revenue, which plays a big role into this, and this is Danny White's specialty, $124.9 million. Texas, Notre Dame, and Michigan are the only programs that reported more football revenue than Tennessee in the last fiscal year. The Volunteers, however, were outside the top 12 in some pre-pandemic accounting and have a recent history that we can politely call volatile. This price puts them slightly behind the 2023 valuation of the NHL's Tampa Bay Lightning. All right, so you're at $1.37 billion. They're saying Texas is worth $1 billion more than you are at $2.38. That's the difference between first place and ninth place nationally, is $1 billion.
Wow.
That's something. All right.
Yeah.
Now, my question to you, though, on that list that I showed you, Tennessee was ahead of Florida. Florida's won 3 national titles since Tennessee has. Tennessee, if you just look at consensus national titles, Tennessee has 2 in their history. Tennessee walked in the wilderness for 20 years before Josh Heupel arrived and brought them back. If you ask people around the country, all right, here are your top 10 most valuable programs, are they going to say, oh, yeah, Tennessee 9th, that makes sense? Or are they going to say, what? How's Tennessee up there? Thoughts?
What?
Yeah, I think
To crack into that list, right?
Yeah.
Because clearly it's Texas, and like nobody's within like 200 million or whatever, past that. Then Tennessee at 9th, and the article described Tennessee's recent history as volatile. Yeah. So you're almost like a stock, up and down,
Yeah, that's
right?
what they're doing, yeah.
So it's up now. It's inside the top 10. It was like, what, 12th? So, I mean, you look at the big picture, they obviously see something there. But it's surprising to me to be in the top 10.
I just think if somebody threw in Wisconsin, we'd go, what? Why is that there? And I'm thinking if somebody in Wisconsin seeing this, they'd go, Tennessee?
Yeah.
Now, I get it. They're worth a lot of money right now. They're bringing it in.
Right.
Program's pretty good right now. Playoff, 30 wins in 3. I get it. I'm not trying to knock it. I think historically that's right. I just don't know that that's the national reputation after the last 20 or 25 years.
No, I think Tennessee's reputation is got a good upslope. Speaking like a stock, the curve is going up. But yeah, I think Tennessee had become, well, they're like Nebraska is right now. Nebraska has gone through the same thing Tennessee has, but they haven't had the uptick. Okay, for us who have followed college football all of our lives, you still have a good, hey, Nebraska, man, that's still a place where football can be good. Whereas somebody who was born in the last 30 years, what's Nebraska been in the last 30 years? So, yeah, I think there is a dichotomy in the way they're viewed.
I found it humorous in some weird way that they compared them to the Tampa Bay Lightning, and the Tennessee Volunteers has won as many national championships Tampa Bay did in a 3-year span. 2 cups, 2 championships. I'm looking at that that's remarkable that Tennessee's in the top 10. Where's the return on investment? It's a lot. You're getting a lot of money there. That's a lot of, and if I'm a Vols fan and I'm sitting there saying, like, I'm not asking you to pull the graphic back up, but look at the top 10.
Can we put the graphic back up there, Mahesh? Sorry about that.
Look at the top 10 real quick and tell me what all those teams have in common, and then you look down at Tennessee.
Yeah, let's see. Texas, national title. Well, no, Texas hadn't won a national title since
Tennessee-
2006.
That's very fair right out of the gate.
Since 05, yeah.
Georgia 2, Ohio State the last one. Notre Dame had one in a while.
Michigan, Alabama.
Michigan and Alabama have.
Oklahoma has it won one in a minute. USC has. Tennessee, there's LSU. So 70% of that up there.
Yeah. You're more in line with, well, Texas at 1106. So it's been 20 years for them. But Notre Dame, USC, and Oklahoma, they're Oklahoma's been in the mix so many times, they just can't get over the hump.
Right, but they haven't won since early 2000s.
They did in the early 2000s with Josh Heupel at quarterback.
Right, there you go.
So, Yeah, yours is the furthest back other than Notre Dame.
Well, and then you look at the list, the other big surprise for me up there, Auburn.
Yeah, we'll get to that in the next segment.
Okay.
All right, let's hold off on that one. Yeah. All right. When we come back, when we look at the entire SEC, are there any big surprises on the list?
Got one.
So we'll do that anyway. Come on back. Okay, let's take a look at the athletics rankings of just the SEC programs. All right, this is taking everybody else out. So on the left, it's 1 through 16, easy to follow. Then you've got their value cash-wise. Then on the right side is the number of where they would rank nationally. So for example, Vanderbilt is 16th in the SEC, but they're 58th in the nation. So that's over there on the far. Now the interesting thing, Texas, $2.38 billion. Mississippi State and Vandy under $250 million. How do you have a conference where there is that kind of a disparity in the value of programs? I mean, it's really, really fascinating. I find it interesting that Georgia is ahead of Alabama after the incredible 10-year run or 15-year run that Nick Saban had. Are there surprises that stand out to you? And Bob, I put you in here in place of Josh. This was a Josh segment, but you had to chime in with your Auburn comment. So I wanted to get it back in here. So tell us, Auburn surprises you that they're high or low?
I think it is high, because Auburn, yes, if you go back 12, 13 years, Auburn was having a lot of success, but then when they have fallen off, they have really fallen off, and they've churned coaches pretty much.
They're where Tennessee was a decade ago.
Yes, and so I just think Auburn as a brand is looking for its footing. And, we were talking before the show about Hugh Freeze and his future. So to me, Auburn was the one that jumped out as probably being a lot higher than I would have thought they were.
I would have thought Texas A&M would have been ahead of
I would have thought, yes, exactly.
Their endowment is second only to Texas.
Right.
Yeah.
So they've got cash. But anyway, again, this is a formula created by The Athletic. It's talk show fodder, but
right,
it's
it's not just success on the field.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh no, it's very much
physical,
about
financial
it's the
success.
Cash, it's the cash you're bringing back.
Right.
And when you look at that Tennessee number, I mean, it's the fact that Danny White has grown you and Heupel's got you winning. That has people. I mean, remember Heupel's first year, there were a couple games where you had 50,000 people in the stands.
Right.
Now you're selling out for Kent State and ETSU.
Yeah.
That is a huge difference. Chuck, let's go ahead and put the list back up there if we can. Were there any surprises that stood out to you?
I would have thought Florida would have been a little bit higher than what they are. Of course, then you look, sometimes they don't sell out their stadium at home. We've seen that. So, 7th, but then 12th outside of the top 10, and some of the success they've had. So that's one. LSU seems about right to me, doesn't it, you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised LSU isn't up there. I wouldn't be surprised if LSU or Florida were ahead of Tennessee, or vice versa.
Yeah, it wouldn't be shocking.
And of course, Oklahoma and Arkansas, a lot of that was built in the Big 12, right?
Yeah.
But if these numbers are anywhere, if you want to assign meaning to the fact that you've got a conference where one team is 10 times ahead of the other team, Texas to Vanderbilt. So you sit there and you say, going forward with everything that we talk about all the time, do you keep a team like Vanderbilt and Mississippi State? Do they stay? Do they get to play in this league?
Well, again, I think this pushes for this is just football we're talking about.
Right.
So if there is going to be a super conference, it's probably going to be a football-only thing.
Yeah.
And I think you can look at that. As a matter of fact, that's where I was going to go. If we could put this back up, I'm sorry. Our director is going to cuss at me because he wasn't prepared to have all these things going up and down. There you go. Look at the line of demarcation. It's between Texas A&M and Arkansas.
Yes.
I mean, that's about a $300 million gap right there. Big drop from Texas A&M to Arkansas. And then you get Arkansas, Ole Miss, South Carolina, Missouri, Kentucky, Mississippi State, Vandy, all under $646 million. And then the others are all basically $1 billion or more. If you round Texas A&M up a little. That, to me, is your haves and your have-nots. And I think for Arkansas and Ole Miss, that would be a wake-up call. If you're looking at some sort of super league, Are you in there? Now, those are both top 25 schools. You can see where they rank nationally. Even Kentucky is a top 40 school, and they're only 400 million. So when you take it into account, you are in the SEC. You're making more money. That's the chicken or the egg thing. So I do think, though, if you're looking at a Super League and you're Arkansas or Ole Miss or South Carolina, it's not the slam dunk that you might think it is.
No.
If they just look at that brand value, and they use the same kind of formula that the Athletic does, depending on the size of the Super League.
And if you're Mississippi State and Vanderbilt, you're wondering
Yeah.
where are we going to be playing football here in a few years.
With Washington State and Oregon State.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, very good. When we come back, did you see the embarrassing kick in the teeth that Memphis took this week? For those of you out there who don't like Memphis, you'll enjoy the next segment because, my goodness, I actually feel sorry for what happened to Memphis this week. We'll discuss the pie in the face that the Tigers took from the Big 12. Come on back. To get a bid into the ACC, let's move forward. To get a bid,
You never know with Mike's, John.
you never know. Yeah, that's right. To get a bid, it really stops me. I'm just to get a bid into the ACC. SMU offered to not take any cash from that league for several years, and the ACC said, "Okay, come on in." Last year, first year, they make the playoff. It's a good match. It worked well. Well, Memphis looked at that and said, "Let's do that." So Memphis, they went even further. They went to the Big 12 and they said, we will come to the Big 12 and you don't have to pay us for a number of years. We won't take a cut. Also, and this is, the SMU didn't do this, but Memphis said, look, if you do your next TV deal and you find that we haven't added anything to your, then just kick us out. Kick us out, no penalties, nothing. Okay. Then they said, through their ties to corporations based in Memphis, corporations that were started by Memphis alums, corporations whose president is a Memphis alum, they said, we will bring the Big 12 $200 million in sponsorships from AutoZone, Lowe's, and FedEx. And the Big 12 said, nah, we're good. Sorry, we're okay. Don't worry about it. Which I said it going to break, I actually feel sorry for it. That is such, for that to come out, that, look, the Washington State and Oregon State asked them to come into their new Pac-12, tried to get them, and Memphis wasn't interested. They were a little too highbrow for that, and I understand that. They don't want to be. They are bigger than Texas State, in my view. They are bigger than Boise State, in my opinion. It's an overall athletic department. At the same time, for the Big 12 to try and say, well, we're going to get in the Big 12, and the Big 12 just to kick you aside when you're making all these concessions, that is a pretty big pie in the face for an athletic department and a school in general. Gentlemen, your reaction to that story, which just dropped last week out of nowhere.
Yeah, you mentioned that you feel bad for Memphis seeing that kind of story, and that was kind of my reaction too. But Tyler, there are a lot of Tennessee fans viewing the show that do not feel bad
at all. We're doing the segment.
Yeah, and are laughing over this story.
Tiger high.
How do you? If you look down on Memphis, this is an easy thing to look down on them forever.
That, and then shortly after they get the rejection, having their social media accounts pledge their allegiance to the AAC, how proud it is. Granted, maybe it was already a scheduled tweet because the AAC was just rebranding, and maybe that was part of the fold. I'm going to take this a different direction. Yeah, it's a pie in the face for the Memphis. I don't know where the Big 12 gets off just rejecting $200 million. I mean, I'm looking at how they break down their TV deals and all the concessions that you pointed out. This seemed like that this was a win-win for the Big 12. It's like, okay.
There were no Big 12 teams on that top 20 list we just showed everybody.
Right.
ACC had Florida State in there. Notre Dame was an independent. There was no Big 12 team in that top 20 valuations.
So that's a pretty good offer. I'm a little surprised.
I was kind of taken back as well, too, and I get it. Cash is king, football is king. But the college basketball guy in me immediately went, wow, the Big 12 is already one of the most dominant conferences, and you're adding what Penny's doing right now and how well they did last year.
But remember, they also, the president of the AC, the commissioner of the Big 12, wanted UConn.
Right.
He's big into the basketball thing. He also wanted Gonzaga. And the presidents over there said, no, it dilutes the product. We're not interested in UConn. And I would take UConn before I took. Now, the interesting thing about Memphis is your basketball independent. Somebody made the point that they've been to 3 Final Fours in history, but 2 of them have been stripped due to NCAA violations, and you're on NCAA probation again.
Yeah,
right
I think
now.
the Big 12 looked at Memphis and said more trouble than that money would be worth.
Plus, I don't know right now in terms of that is one of the highest crime rate cities in the country. You know, there's crime everywhere, but that city right now has a reputation that isn't terrific. I mean,
No.
In terms of not just high crime rate, it's violent crime rate. So I don't know that a league wants to jump in there. It's also market 51. It's not like you're talking, if it were market 30, you'd look at, oh, well, that can change.
Yeah, you're not adding Houston
Yes,
as the Big 12.
Memphis it's not a huge television market. So I'm like you, the $200 million, let's take the cash and roll with it. But
like you said, if they come back in a couple of years and the bottom line is shown that Memphis isn't adding to what we want, sorry, your rules, we're just abiding by them. Thanks for the cash. Yeah. This is kind of perplexing. Sucks for Memphis.
Yeah,
I want to know what
Memphis.
Brett Yormark's kind of doing right now, going, no, we're good. I've talked to a couple of my guys, and we'll see you down the road.
Makes me wonder
Okay.
if they are holding a slot for UConn somehow, if he's still working the UConn angle. But then you're looking at an odd number of teams.
Right.
This is a whole conversation for a different day.
Sure.
But doesn't it make the most sense? You look at the SEC, you look at the Big 12. Wouldn't it make a lot of sense for the ACC commissioner, the Big 12 commissioner to call each other and say, you know, what if we just became one big thing? And we've got 36 teams that we can sell. And we're not going to be the SEC, we're not going to be the Big 10, but we're going to be better together than we are separate right now. Mm-hmm. I think that would make a lot of sense because in the end, I think what's going to wind up happening is those conferences are going to have the best of their teams picked off, and then they're going to dissolve.
Yormark has made comments in the past, too, saying we can't do things in the Big 12 the same way that Greg Sankey in the SEC and Tony Petitti are doing things. So we need to get creative on how we can try to stay ahead of the curve. Maybe we'll go to ESPN and we'll give them this network a certain football deal, but because we know how powerful our basketball product is, we'll offer them this. It always seems like that Brett Yormark has done a great job of thinking outside the box. This doesn't seem like he's thinking out of the box right now, which tells me there's already a plan perhaps in place. I think you're onto something with that UConn spot. Perhaps
Josh, if you're Memphis, what are you doing? Are you just now saying, well, we are what we are? We are the American.
Yeah, I think it's probably a wake-up call because they had tried to get in the Big 12 previously, and the Big 12 evaluated them, and now we know they probably weren't that close.
Yeah, they looked at it and said, Cincinnati, yes. Cincinnati versus Memphis. They wanted Cincinnati.
Yeah.
UCF, now that's one of the fastest growing schools in the country.
Yeah.
Gets them into Florida. I get that.
Yeah.
Houston, okay. You were already in Texas with Texas Tech, so did you need one that was Houston? I mean, Houston and Cincinnati are the clear comparisons to Memphis.
Right.
And you were the city school that didn't get in.
Right. Yeah, so it's a wake-up call and a reality check of what they are as an athletic department.
Makes you wonder, I mean, they had to have had the support of all those boosters to get behind it, so I don't guess your athletic director could be in any kind of issue there, your school president. But boy, that's the kind of thing that will leave alums upset because you embarrassed the brand. You hurt the brand by letting this out. You went big, you threw the Hail Mary. Well, you tried the last second field goal, but it was kick sixth the other way. And you look like an idiot for trying the last second long field goal.
And to your American Conference mates, they look at you, oh, you think you're that much better than us, huh?
Right. Yeah, that's not a good week for the Memphis Tigers, who Tennessee still won't play. Wish they would, but they won't. All right. When we come back, the government is here to fix college sports. Hooray. They're taking things back. If you like the end of the NCAA and players deserve some power, it's not going that way. So we're going to ask everybody. There's basically 2 ways you can do this thing. Everybody would like to be in the middle, but I'm taking the middle out. So which way are you going? We'll talk about the government's plan and what these guys would do next. Late this week, the White House put out a statement titled President Donald J. Trump Saves College Sports. It is his latest executive order, and several experts read the order and said it sounds like it was written by the NCAA. So it looks like schools who've been wanting more regulation, wanting a return to rules and setup, After all these years of people saying, we want rid of the NCAA, now it's like, okay, let's go back to the NCAA, where we have some rules. It looks like those schools, the Alabamas and the Georgias, who haven't liked all this NIL stuff, would be very happy with this. Not a surprise, because Donald Trump was moved to go in this direction after he talked to who?
Nick Saban.
Nick Saban, former Alabama coach.
That was just a
now,
guess.
they're also saying schools that have made their hay in the NIL zone, who would that be locally?
Yeah.
Says they're probably not going to be happy with this. Yeah. The gist is, and there's also a bill that just made it out of subcommittee. Look, you can either go back to what it was and say, we're going to have rules, and we're going to have the NCAA, and it's going to be tough, and they're going to be policemen, and they're going to be cops, and you're not going to be able to do this. All right, part of me says you need some of that. Yeah. On the other hand, you can say, look, the players have earned some of this money. You got to give them a say. They need to unionize. They need to be made employees, and you'll collectively bargain the whole thing. Collective bargaining, of course, is what Danny White wants here at UT. Part of me likes that, because I think that's fair. What I'd like is something in the middle. Well, there's not going to be anything in the middle, so I'm going to ask you, which way are you going? If you have to choose, complete, lean it to the conferences. We got a fly in here that's going to drive us crazy.
It'll be on my nose.
Oh, that would be good for bloopers. But anyway, you've got you can either go one way or the other. You either have to go, I'm for rules. We got to have rules. I'm going with the conferences and the NCAA model. Or you can say, look, make them employees. The players have to have some power. Bob Hodge, which way are you going?
Players.
Going with the players.
I'm going with the players. I mean, I don't know where this thing ends up, but the less government is involved with it, the better, because I just don't think college sports needs Congress or the president or some judge sitting there saying, no, this is what you're going to do. Work it out. It may take a while, but I'm going players.
Yeah. And to kind of quote Josh Ward, I believe, I don't think you can put the toothpaste back in the tube, right? It's already out. We've seen what that is. I think you got to pay the players.
One of your famous quotes.
Yeah, it's one. People not as good as some of his dad jokes.
People don't credit you for that one, but that's an old Josh Ward
original
one of your
right
chestnuts.
But anyway, I don't think you can go back to that. I think you've got it this way. You've got to kind of modify this. Maybe some kind of national rules.
Ranks up there with a bird in hand, which you also can. Right. Which way are you going, Josh?
So I don't know the how, but I would want to get to the collective bargaining agreement, and you have rules in place that have to be followed on both sides. Again, I don't know how you get the players, because I hear so often about how it needs to happen. Yeah. Well, Danny White's got a plan in place that has to probably be adjusted along the way, but that's where I would lean, is get a CBA in order, and you have some kind of structure that just does not exist right now.
All right, you going forward into the unknown, or are you going backward into the known, and it's a little bit more calm? And
No. CBA. Find a way, as Josh said, to save time. I don't know how we get there, and I've been praising Danny on your program for some time. Give the players a little bit of a voice here, and let's see where it goes. But I understand we might be in damage control shortly after.
You praise Danny, you praise Diego.
D. It's
all the D's.
I want to praise Josh for that famous
really.
I had no idea.
So I was talking to D. White the other day. I said, look, man, I said, I dig what you're doing. The scene's great. All right, and I'm going to get Southeast Termite and Pest Control. Do you think they kill flies? Get in here. When we come back, what are basketball coaches saying when asked how much teams in their leagues are spending on players this year? Oh my, it is a lot of cash. You are not going to believe some of the numbers that they say being spent on college basketball players and college basketball teams this season. Come on back, we'll share the numbers. Welcome back to the Sports Source. Right now, you can get more content from us than ever before. You get the Sports Source Saturday kickoff. That is Saturdays at 11 a.m., and we are within a month now. For the Tennessee opener against Syracuse, we're going to be live right here on Channel 6 as your lead-in into that game. And that show is going to include, well, there'll be 9 of us on that show. And that's John Wilkerson, who I'd like to congratulate, just went into the Tennessee Radio Hall of Fame yesterday. And I would say he's one of my best friends, but here's the thing. Anybody who's ever met John Wilkerson will tell you, oh, yeah, I'm one of his best friends. He's that kind of guy.
Yes.
He's a tremendous guy, and I've never been happier for anybody to get in the Hall of Fame than John Wilkerson. Just pleased as can be for him. He'll be with us right here on Saturdays this fall, along with Ollie Lane. Kevin Simon, Will West, Tyler Ivins right there, Paige Dower, Ryan Callahan, Vince Ferrara. So we're going to have our Sunday crew, it's postgame, and our pregame crew on Saturdays. 2 different groups. It's great when we got 20 different roster members here on the Sports Source team. And, of course, you can find us every day at the Sports Source Digital Network. And, man, we got a lot of stuff coming up this week. The 5 biggest keys to Tennessee's season, the players under the most pressure in fall camp, on and on and on. We all have a lot of kind of numbers there for you as well. Let's take a look here at the basketball roster spending. The Athletic talked to 35 different college basketball coaches recently. They were allowed anonymity. And they said, what do they think? They asked them, what do you think teams in your league are spending on the rosters right now? And they tallied it up. And here's what they got. The SEC, number 1, by the way. ACC schools spending about $8 million per roster. Big East, about $8 million. Big Ten, about $8.5. Down there, SEC, $9.7 million. Almost $10 million on basketball right now. Holy smokes, that is a huge number. Now, this is also a year, we were just talking about it off camera here, this is a year where people were trying to get their deals in ahead of the House settlement. So you've got NIL mixed in here, you've got revenue sharing that's coming into this. But $10 million a year on basketball, that is something. And the fact that the SEC is that far ahead of everybody else on that list surprised me. Anybody else, any other takeaways? Were you surprised or no? Am I the only one that was like, wow?
When I heard the report at the beginning of the season that there were 10 programs who allegedly had over a $10 million total bottom line, I thought, okay, let me see how it looks as a conference as a whole. Now starting to see the end results, allegedly some of those numbers. Well, I think we're not going to have a lot of what I would predict is this upcoming NCAA tournament, no matter what the expansion, I bet there's not going to be nearly as many upsets, and it's going to be pretty much chalk all the way through.
Yeah, the surprise I would take is that basketball really matters to a lot of schools in the ACC and the Big Ten. We know that. And for the SEC, about 10 years ago, somewhere in that range, the league said, hey, we got to get better. And the league likes to say it just means more. Basketball means more to the league than it did a decade ago. And they're backing that up with their investment.
They must be betting on NCAA tournament money, aren't they?
Well, you just got a record last year.
Exactly, to be spending that much. Divide that into how many, what do you do that with each player? You know,
I just to go back earlier in the show, Vanderbilt can barely sell its football program to fund its basketball program after we had the $255 million valuation.
Yeah.
That is stunning to me.
Can we go ahead and put that graphic back up there? It's the last time. It's the last graphic of the day, so it's the last time I'm going to throw you there. Our director Mahesh does a great job for me. There we go. The mid majors.
There it is.
About $2 million per, and the low to mid majors about $500,000.
Oh.
Bye bye to the Cinderella story.
Yeah, exactly.
No more David and Goliath.
Well, and especially when they're going to expand the tournament. I don't know if it can happen this year. It still could, but it's coming. They're talking too much about it for it not to happen. So you're going to get, it'll be much more of the SEC and the Big Tens getting in, and fewer of the little guys will make up part of that. They'll have a smaller percentage of the actual tournament body, which means, in addition to we don't have the roster anymore, you also don't have as many slots. So the Cinderella days are going to an end.
I just remember shaking my head when I saw that Mike White's program in Georgia got in this year over some of those other programs like in the A-10 who I thought were more deserving, only for them to get wiped by Gonzaga by 30 points in the first round. So for those of you who needed to see more Power 4, Power 5, Power 6 schools in, you got your wish.
Well, they act like that's what people tune in for. And it's like, well, they do late in the thing.
Yeah.
But I tune in to see the little guys.
Yeah.
I mean, have you ever called anybody and said, hey, wow, Kansas is beating the hell out of Eucalyptus State? No, you don't. But if Eucalyptus State is beating Kansas,
then you're on the phone,
everybody's
you're texting.
get over,
Get to
turn it
True
on.
TV.
Exactly, turn it on right now. So.
No, that makes that first 4 days better.
See you, Bob. See you, Chuck. See you, Josh. See you, Tyler. Thanks to all. See you next week. Thanks to our sponsors. Get out and visit them. See you on the Sports Source Digital Network. Bye-bye.